Hello, it's Sarah Quinn, your MC for this year's Hall of Fame City Comic Con, and I've got a treat for you. I get to talk to the one and only legendary comic book creator, Chris Claremont. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me.
Thank you so much for that delightful introduction. I can't imagine who you're talking about.
I'm talking to the guy that's on the New Jersey Turnpike right now.
Well, actually, we just got off the New Jersey Turnpike, and we're getting on to, I have no idea. I've been driving down this road for longer than I care to think about it.
Well, thank you.
Staten Island, so, you know.
Yeah. You'll get there when you get there. But thank you so much for taking the time to answer a couple questions. We had a lot of fan interest when I announced this is who I was talking to. Oh, yeah. Everyone was freaking out. Oh yeah, people were calling me and stuff like that, and so we've got a lot of people wanting to know a lot about behind the creative process and also your new projects that you're working on right now. So the biggest thing is X-Men. X-Men has known for breaking boundaries and having characters grapple with real life issues and problems and prejudices. In fact, God Loves, Man Kills is a perfect example of this. And when creating a new character, we were wondering and writing their stories, are there any real life stories that stick out in your head that inspired you and are the basis of some of these characters?
Probably, but I don't keep track. It's all good characters come from some special place in the creator's heart or memory, something that strikes a chord and makes you think, that's interesting. What happens next? And then you go with it, and you steal bits and pieces from the people you know, the situations one finds oneself in, and it stitches all together. The thing about comics, especially company-owned comics like Marvel, is that you're never entirely sure where that path is going to lead. I started out, for example, with Gambit with one intent, and then because I left the company fairly early in his life as a character, other people came on board and took it in totally different directions. And then when I came back, I grabbed hold of him and took him in even more different directions. So the thing about modern companies like Marvel and DC and the characters is that they're created over a length of time as a synergy, not simply between writer and artist, but between writer and writer, editor and editor.
I was going to say it's interesting because these characters are basically a taste of everybody's life experiences. You're right. It's a rainbow effect to create these full-fledged characters. And it's even more interesting when, like you said, somebody leaves the company and somebody else takes it on. That character can go in a whole new area. Just look at Spider-Man. Like, oh my goodness.
Well, I was actually thinking, for example, of Wolverine. Because Len Wein's original concept for him was that he would be a young man, probably late adolescent, barely 20s. His mutant power was the ability to heal, and the claws were actually part of his gloves. The thing was that I took over the X-Men with the second issue, where nothing really had been established about any of the core characters other than the basic aspects of their lives, which is Storm controls weather, Colossus turns to steel, Nightcrawler teleports and looks strange, and Wolverine is like a Wolverine, apparently some sort of bad killer. But the interesting thing that both Dave Cockrum, who drew those issues, and I realized was that Dave's presentation of him, the character he drew, appeared much older than Len's conception, and more interesting to us because we both weren't happy with the idea of the claws being in his gloves, because that made them very much like Iron Man's armor. Anyone who wore the armor could be Iron Man. Anyone who picked up Logan's gloves could be Wolverine. So then one day Dave came in with a page, and on the back of the page, he'd scribbled a sketch, just for the fun of it, of a clenched fist with the claws coming out of the hand.
Mm.
And I looked at it, and my reaction was, "Oh my God, that's disgusting." That is so cool. And Dave and I both were of the same mind. It was horrifying, but that was the idea.
Yeah.
And that made it incredibly cool. And the Wolverine we know today was born.
When did the adamantium coated skeleton come into effect then with that?
Well, that in Len's concept, the adamantium skeleton was restricted solely to the claws. So you have the gloves, you have the claws, you have the power. With us, well, if he's got adamantium claws, where did that come from? And the next step took us back down the food chain to his body. Does he have adamantium bones? No, that would be icky. So we have adamantium bones that are organic bones that are laced with this adamantium, which was even more icky and therefore a lot more fun to play with.
Growing up, Wolverine was one of my first superheroes that I started to get into. And I remember when I learned that, and it was actually because of the movies, that I was in reverse. The movies were my introduction to comics, and seeing in the movies his bones getting broken off, I was like,
well, but the movies had the other incomparable advantage of Hugh Jackman.
Yes.
I mean, people would go, "It can't be right, he's too tall." And I said, look, in the comic books, Wolverine is 5'1".
Mm-hmm.
Aurora is 6'4". In real life, Hugh Jackman is 6'4". Halle Berry is 5'1". But it's Hugh Jackman and Halle Berry, so who cares?
Right.
The numbers are right. We've just switched genders.
Right. When it comes to writing comics versus writing the treatments to films, because you've written the treatments for quite a number of films and for the upcoming Gambit movie, which we'll get to Gambit in a second. What is the biggest difference you found when it comes to writing for characters, when it comes for print versus film?
In terms of print, the writer has a lot more control. With me writing a script or writing a story, it's me, the editor, the artist. That's pretty much it. With me writing a treatment for a movie, and then if the treatment were to go to movie, there is a whole cavalcade of people who will happily acknowledge they can't write, but they'd love to help. And that goes from the very moment of a writer's conception of an idea to the very moment that the movie starts rolling the final credits. Films are a much more collaborative, creative endeavor. And you just have to learn to adapt to that and turn it to the film and the film story's advantage. When I write a scene in a comic book, I am playing all the roles. I know what is going on. The editor may have questions, but it all comes through me. When if I write a scene for a movie or a teleplay, it's all filtered through the actors. I may have the best idea in the world, but if Hugh Jackman doesn't feel it inside, then a better way has to be found. Not because it's disrespectful to the words or to the writer's idea. He's the one on screen who's got to say the words, who's got to make the audience go, wow.
Yeah.
And if he can't find a way through those words to do it, this is a comic book case in point. But one day Frank Miller came into the office and gave a bunch of Daredevil pages to Denny O'Neil, who was the editor. And Denny had looked through the script and he said to Frank, the last panel doesn't work. Could you rewrite it? Because he was both the writer and the artist. And Frank sat there for a moment and looked at it and looked at it. And then, he said, took out a pencil, erased the panel and started drawing. Denny, the editor, is having a heart attack because how dare you change the art? And Frank looked at him and said, the words are fine. The picture was wrong. So he's fixing the picture. In a way, the same applies in movies. The words could be right, but if the actor doesn't feel it, if it doesn't work in the scene on camera, then you have to find a better way to make it work.
Yeah.
So it's all a collaborative endeavor.
Yeah.
No one is top of the heap. Not really the editor, not really the director, not really the actor. It's find a way to make the whole thing work.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. The actors are embodying the words. So if it doesn't work with their emotional storyline, adjusting sometimes has to happen. Now, I said we'd come back to Gambit. So right now, you're in the middle of releasing a special 5-issue of Gambit. And the next issue is coming out on September 28th. What made you want to revisit this character and explore kind of his backstory?
Well, the editor called up and said, "Do you want to write a Gambit miniseries?" I said, "Yep." That's the simplest way all this happens. Yeah. This is an untold period of their lives, and it's turning into a whole lot of fun. And if the gods are kind, the gods and goddesses are kind. This will be a ridiculously successful miniseries, and Marvel will face the challenge of, should we give him another one? Because I figure I could. Well, it's too much fun to pass up. And so if they invite me to do another one, I would be more than happy, and I think the readers will enjoy it.
Has this been now a story where you've been able, maybe there were some storylines for Gambit that were tabled or you didn't get to explore, didn't have the opportunity? Have you been able to go, aha, and pull out your Gambit file in your brain and be like, I want to do this?
Well, nothing specific, because the direction I wanted to take Gambit in the beginning is markedly different from the direction that exists now. And like it or not, the Gambit, even this Gambit, is the Gambit that will become the one you see in the comics today. Although with a slightly better sense of fashion, I must say, even though it is the 80s.
His jacket is so awesome. I want it so bad.
That's, he just become a world-class thief with superpowers. But no, it's this. The nice thing about this is it's a rare arc in the modern pantheon because it's a comedy. Well, it has significant comedic elements. And there are equally significant tragic elements, but we're just here to have fun, to do stories that I'm having fun with, the extraordinary artist Sid Kotian is having fun with, and hopefully the readers are having fun with. And unlike a lot of comics these days, within this 5-issue miniseries, it's divided into 3 separate stories. So you actually, which when I came into the business was Stan's rule. You had 1 issue or 2 issues. But if you want to do 2 issues, it really better be a good story. So my hope is that we offer an intriguing and significant contrast to what you'll see in everything else, with everything else. And I hope the readers will like that. Not simply because they're my fans, but because it's really good.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And on the same vein as projects coming out, you've also are working on X-Treme X-Men. That's coming up. Yep. It's going to pick up right where the last one left off in 2004. It's going to be all about Kitty Pryde. And how has it been bringing that back, the original creative team, to now work on this next, chapter of the story?
Well, it's really, really cool. I mean, Salva's as good as it gets. Salva brings out the best in me, I hope. I hope I bring out the best in him. And I hope, fingers crossed, readers will appreciate it and have the time of their life. And when it's done, just like with Gambit, I hope readers will pile up in front of the Marvel doorstep on the Marvel landing. We want more. We want more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although, sensibly speaking, I might think if it cut out twice when I got to that point, maybe that's a message from God.
No, because we're going to edit that out, Chris.
There you go.
I am God in this instance.
Well, I never argue with a redhead.
That's right. So talking about, fans and demanding more and wanting more, I want to go back to the beginning of X-Men because this was actually a fan question. A couple of these have been, but this one they were very excited about. Going back to the very beginning when you and John Byrne first started working together, was there a moment that you realized you had lightning in a bottle when it came to the X-Men? Because, it was kind of, it was like flickering start, and then boom, it exploded. Was there a moment when it hit you and realized?
Yeah, but that was the moment that Dave Cockrum and I actually sat down and started putting this together. It was lightning in a bottle from the moment Dave and I took over with issue 94. Not because of the characters that Dave created and the brilliant way he told stories. John was the next step in that evolution and building off of what Dave had created. And then Dave came back and did more. And then Paul Smith came on after Dave left the second time, and we hit the stratosphere. I mean, it is the most extraordinary 3 artists in a row combo I have ever seen in my creative life, and to me it's unbeatable.
Yeah.
And they are all equally responsible on one level or another for why the book became what it became. And I mean, I knew John was really cool for the first time we worked together on Iron Fist, sorry. And we knew John Byrne and Terry Austin were the right team the minute we did our Star-Lord. But it's the best 4 of a kind run of creators I have ever seen in terms of Dave, of John, of Terry Austin, of Paul Smith. I mean, wow. I'll take that any day with any book.
Going back, if I were to tell you time travel and be like, hey, just, one day this is going to become a gigantic cinematic universe, crossover into billions of different cartoons and video games and a huge fan base, what would you have said?
Well, thank God we kept trying. A good long while before Stan and I actually had to sit down with Jim Cameron to pitch the X-Men. But Stan pitched Spider-Man first, and you can't really argue with the web slinger.
Yeah.
But so things happen, and the X-Men has been extraordinarily fortunate, and my hope is that now that it's part of once more of the Marvel universe, cinematic universe, the audience will get to see what set the whole cinematic revolution alight in 2001 with the first X-Men movie. Because like it or not, if not for the first X-Men movie, would Spider-Man have happened? Would Iron Man have happened? Would Avengers have happened? That's a heck of a question. Mm-hmm. So it's back on the mutant's shoulders to come up with ideas and actors and performances that will make the audience sit up and go, wow, we want to see more.
What are some things that you would like to see happen concerning the X-Men's future? And do you see them incorporating more present day elements now with new stories going forward? Because X-Men has never shied away from making commentary on the world.
Are you talking about comics or film?
Either or, since you kind of dabble in both.
Well, my classic response is, all you have to do is give me a call and I'll start writing. You'll find out.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. I really appreciate it.
The pleasure is mine. Timing is is no fooling. We're just on the off ramp.
I told you I was going to make this happen. I told you, God knows. Editing, God knows.
The whole point of comics is to have fun, is for the creators to have fun and the audience to have fun and keep coming back for more. And that Stan's whole point, this, one of the advantages of learning from the man, because he hired me, is that you want stories to be fun. You want them to mean something, but don't always hit people over the head with that. Have it come to them 5 minutes later and go, wait, holy cow, that happened? And just...
It's the seduction of the innocent.
It's, as my wife just said, it's very much the seduction of the innocent.
Footnote that.
But in the best sense of the word. And come up with characters that, I mean, the other part of it is that, I hate to say it, that it is a seduction. You fall in love and you keep wanting to come back to see what happens next. And as the person who's responsible for writing the stories, your obligation is to keep giving them what they want better than they could have imagined, so that they want to come back even more.
Well,
so keep trying till we get it right, but on the way, have a heck of a lot of fun.
Well, thank you so much, Chris. Just to recap, the next issue coming out for Gambit is September 28th, and your new series coming out for X-Treme X-Men is going to be debuting in November, and you can meet Chris at the Hall of Fame City Comic Con on October 1st. Thank you so much.
I look forward to seeing a lot of you and having a great conversation while I'm there.